Whiskey Point. Whiskey Point in Pottuvil. And I started my journey to Pottuvil from Colombo. I did a reservation online on a CTB bus that started from Colombo, but I caught the bus 10 p.m. from Markandara interchange at Pottuvil, and actually we reached Urania, where I stayed at by around 3:30 in the morning. Yeah, well, you got to be very careful in these areas because at night the elephants are roaming around, and you wouldn't know where and what time you would come across a giant in the area. So you got to be very careful when you walks around alone, especially. But within the area, there are so many attractions that you can visit by bus or by a tuk, or you in your own vehicle, or with a friend of yours, which I did. Right now I'm at the east coast, and this is in Pottuvil area, the easternmost point in Sri Lanka, Sangaman Point, or known as Sangaman Pottuvil. And this structure that you see here is the remnants of a lighthouse that has been erected to provide signals for the naval operations in early stages. These are some of the most picturesque beaches in Sri Lanka and in the world as well, you know.
You know, the beauty of this place is that this is the driest area or the dry zone of Sri Lanka. And this Pottuvil area specifically bordering the driest, supposedly driest area of the country, which should be the southeastern parts of the country. Because this southeastern part does not get served by both the monsoonal rains because of its geographic location. But look at the amount of green that you see here. Some of the bogs are actually full of water right now because of the rains that they received during last couple of weeks. But other than that, this supposed to be parched, salty vegetation, full of thorny bushes and those huge palm trees lining and dotted along the coastline. But look at the farms. Look at the greenery. How do they do this? This is human intervention at its best. To be fair by these lands and the occupants of these lands, these farmers and these villagers work tirelessly, and perhaps some of the best farmers in the country because of the hardships and the challenges that they have to go through and overcome. The elephants are roaming around this area, and I'm sure there are other feral animals that becomes a huge challenge for these farmers, but they don't seem to be complaining. During the harsh day, when the sun bearing down its all might on them, and they work, and they water the fields, they plow the fields and turn the soil, and they just work, and you can see the outcome. And these waterways and these reservoirs are full of water. I think even the environment, supporting them and thankful to them for protecting this nature and the environment, and trying to and for the effort that they are trying to enrich this environment.
The sun bearing down on the land here on this eastern coast mercilessly. And this is the Kari Lagoon, and this is the entry point of the lagoon, which it drains into the sea, or when it's the high tide, the sea water comes back into the lagoon area. It's a depression in the land which brings the sea water or salinity water.
The beauty of this place is not only because of its environment, but because of its inhabitants. The people in this area work tirelessly. It's quite evident the way they work in their fields or the way they develop their properties. The development or the progress in these areas are quite evident, and it is heartwarming. The Whiskey Point Beach. And this is Mohammed's Cafe. Well, as I said earlier, these are some of the most picturesque beachfronts that you would ever come across in Sri Lanka or anywhere in the world for that matter.